There's only 16 teams left in the Hearthstone Global Games. I wish there was a way we could show our appreciation for how well they've done.
I'm sure we can come up with something.
Dear Norway, thank you for winning. Please keep doing so. Lots of luck, Lorinda. Now, how should I send this? I know. Okay, Paul, off to Norway, fly!
How much further to Brazil?
I've made a telegram. Now I just need to work out how to send it.
So anyway, it turns out it's a long way to Brazil.
Yeah, I wonder if Norway got my message yet from Paul. I hope he got that.
Guys,
okay.
shh! I'm on the phone to Blizzard. It turns out there's a better way.
What's that, Falcone?
We can just use HGG Cheer.
What's that, Falcone?
Well, welcome to week 7 of the Hearthstone Global Games, and we're going to get straight into it by explaining what HGG Cheer is. You no longer have to be sending telegrams through fax machines like I was trying to do before. Let's take a look at HGG Cheer.
Yeah, that's right. A new feature that we've got for the last couple of weeks of the Hearthstone Global Games. A great way to show your appreciation, give it a little bit of support to whatever team you are rooting for here in the Global Games.
Yep, and now for all of the information on HGG Cheer. HGG Cheer is a new program where you can show your support for players and regions using bits, a virtual good that you can buy on Twitch. When you cheer in Twitch chat, you'll earn Hearthstone packs, new emotes, and a unique card back, while players earn a share of the revenue. Additional rewards will unlock as overall cheer levels within the community are reached. You can check out all of the progress of HGG Cheer down just below us here on this Twitch page. And we've seen you've all been going crazy already for your bits.
Yeah, we weren't expecting it to be quite this dramatic, as we can see there already. United States way in the lead, much to my chagrin. And this is really the bit that I'm most excited about for Cheer here in the Global Games, is we get to have a little bit of national pride, a bit of friendly rivalry, as we see who can rally their fans the most and get the most cheer behind them for their respective teams.
They all said 0 when we did our rehearsal.
They did.
What happened there? Anyways, Derek, let's have a go with HGG Cheer ourselves. Why don't you tell me who your top 3 teams are? Start with number 3.
Well, in third place, this is mostly a respect pick. It's not one of the teams I chose at the start of Global Games, but after going 6-0 in the first 6 weeks of Global Games, Brazil have definitely earned a little bit of cheer from myself, as I will be diving into Twitch chat. Hello, everybody.
You've got some live cheering going on.
Yeah,
here.
please type Budget Reynad, LUL, to greet me graciously.
Or Carrot. That one works too.
Or Derek Carrot. Yeah, just any way that you can think of to make me feel really small and stupid. As I go to, I'm going to give 100 bits, I believe, to Brazil. Just starting off, with a reasonable amount in chat. And there we go. Simple as that. I've given my 100 bits to Brazil, bumping them up the leaderboard a little bit, and getting myself closer to some of those sweet rewards.
You know what, Derek? I think considering they weren't even one of your picks originally, I think that's quite generous. But
thank you.
Tell me who's coming second.
Well, for me, one of the teams that I did actually predict at the start of the Global Games is Chinese Taipei. They had a pretty good run through the group stages of the Global Games, getting through to this top 16 dual knockout phase of the tournament. And I think I'm going to give them a little bit of love, 500 bits perhaps. Let's take it up a notch and show them a little bit more of the cheer as I dive in.
Bring them the cheer. As we've shown you before, there's all of these rewards. You can scroll just beneath the video player to see what all of those are. There's going to be rewards for the whole community. There's going to be individual rewards. If you do donate 2,500 bits, or rather cheer 2,500 bits, you'll unlock everything, including the exclusive card back. Have you done it?
I have.
There we go. All right.
The Polish Wi-Fi holding me back somewhat, but we got there in the end as I show my support for Chinese Taipei. I think they are still the team I'm expecting most to be able to bring it down.
So that was 500 bits, and that was your second place pick. But there can only be one more, right?
There can be only one. And now, as I don't know if you heard, Falcone, Hearthstone is in fact coming home.
Oh, no.
Kind of. I mean, it wasn't actually made in England.
Well, Sotil said Hearthstone was coming home, and that's why he picked USA as his team.
Shut up. It's coming home. Here come 1,000 bids towards England. The United Kingdom, sorry, as I brutishly exclude our northern neighbours. It's going to be HGG, GBR, 1,000 bits. There we go. And now I have not only shown my support for our great United Kingdom team, God save our Queen, I've also got myself some very nice rewards. I'm getting some packs and some emotes as well.
Yeah, I mean, let's take a look. If you just scroll down there, you can take a look at what we have unlocked for the 1,000. What was it? 1,600 bits. I think you've done it.
That's not bad at all. And also one extra bit that I did in a test earlier on today.
There you go.
So I have now got 2 Boomsday packs, an epic emote pack, and 2 Witchwood packs already. As easy as that. And I've got plenty of Hearthstone goodies to be moving on with, and ways to, show more support in the chat with these fantastic emotes.
The emote packs are pretty cool as well. We've been admiring them.
They are very
between the casters just before we went live. Some of the later ones in particular, I think Leroy Jenkins, there's a concede button that looks very exciting to be spamming in all of our favourite streamers.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be especially useful to me. I've got to know that concede button pretty well over the years.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to, over the course of the week, unlocking those myself by actually cheering when my teams are playing. Though I'm not going to do it straight away. I'm going to wait and do it in the vital moments of the games. But we have plenty more to talk about during this community show. I hope you do enjoy HGG Cheer throughout. But next up, let's introduce the next phase of the Hearthstone Global Games as we take a look at the format one more time. It's been a while since we've shown you this. Stage 1 was a 48-team Swiss tournament, 6 rounds, 6 weeks. But, Derek, we are on week 7 now, which means we enter stage 2. 4 groups, 4 teams, that's 16 teams overall in a 3-round duel tournament.
Yeah, this is pretty similar to what you may have seen in the top 8 of playoffs in recent weeks for Europe, Americas, and APAC, where it's quite simple. 4 countries, I suppose, in each group in the global games. If you win twice, you are going through to BlizzCon later in the year, where the finals will be held. And if you lose twice, you are sadly eliminated from the Hearthstone Global Games.
I know that all of the teams want to go to BlizzCon. They want it so badly. Everyone wants to go to BlizzCon. Who doesn't want to go to BlizzCon?
I want to go to BlizzCon.
I want to go to BlizzCon too. I've just been told in my ear that the production team here in the Hearthstone Global Games studio also want to go to BlizzCon. So we'll see what happens there. Let's take a look at the current results from the first phase of the Hearthstone Global Games. There are your top 16. First seed there, undefeated Brazil. I'll be having a chat with Perno in an interview a little bit later, where you'll get to hear a little bit more about that. 16th seed, Portugal. And the many 4-2 teams, but Portugal in there at the bottom, so they'll be playing against Brazil. That's how it works. Yeah,
top goes, first seed plays against the last seed in each group. Surprising to see United Kingdom, I think, for us, as the first place seed in Group B, I believe, as they took a pretty swift victory towards the start, but managed to turn it around. And as you can see there, with Brazil being the only undefeated team so far in the global games, I wonder if they'll be able to continue their streak through to a perfect 8-0 record, advancing through to the finals in a Just Saiyan style, if you will.
But there you go. This is how the groups have turned out. Group A, Brazil, Chile, Spain, Portugal. Group B, the United Kingdom, Bulgaria, Netherlands, Hong Kong. Group C, Singapore, Chinese Taipei, New Zealand, and the United States. And finally, Group D are going to be Ukraine, China, Switzerland, and Norway. So, Derek, you know what I have to ask you now. Whenever there's groups in any Hearthstone tournament, the big question is group of death. Which team is it? Which group is it going to be?
I would have to say personally that Group D is looking to be El Grupo de la Muerte, as the Spanish would say, which I'm sure Akawanda will be more than happy to correct me on my pronunciation in chat. But Ukraine, China, Switzerland, and Norway. I would say outside of Switzerland, they are 3 teams I would have predicted right at the start to do incredibly well. Switzerland, for me, has been a surprise. It's not to say I didn't expect them to do well, but they weren't necessarily on my radar as one of the Tier 1 teams. But I have been very pleasantly surprised by what we've been seeing from them.
Yeah, Team Switzerland are Team Even Paladin, at least as far as I'm concerned, as they're the team that sort of made that, and they did pretty well. But now let's take a more in-depth look at the groups, as we, for the very first time, take a look at the new brackets. Group A. So let's go through these one at a time. Brazil, Derek, you donated them 100 bits. What's so great about Brazil?
Well, as you, I believe we'll be having an interview with one of the members on their team, Perna, later on today. But for me, it's mostly about the story of Race. I've just been absolutely in love with his play throughout the year. His run through Copa America at the start was one of the most dominant series, one of the most dominant tournaments I've seen in Hearthstone for a long while.
Yeah, they've been incredible just overall, individual performances and Hearthstone global games wise. It's been quite the impressive performance. Moving on, Portugal. We don't know quite as much about Portugal. They've got Dr. Boom, which is always great to talk about. He was competing for HGG last year and also this year. Azuka is one of the first players, I believe, that played Combo Priest properly or had any success with it. The Viper and Lazy A also joining that team. All in all, they've done very well, and I'm sure they'll continue to do so.
They have indeed a very passionate team, one of those very tight-knit communities I find, because it's not necessarily the biggest community of Hearthstone players, and you often find in those countries they band together very strongly. Speaking of which, Chile, also not a particularly expansive roster of top-tier players from Chile, but I think we know from seeing some of the Latin American tournaments, Copa America specifically, Topo Pablo and Anguistar, I believe, have been putting up some pretty solid results.
They have been indeed. Topo Pablo has made champs before. Machine has been playing in various tournaments. He's qualified for a WESG Regionals a while back. He's been playing in Copa America. So he's been also doing all sorts. A good team you've got there. But finally, Spain. And, you know, we can't really say enough nice things about Spain. I'd call them one of the teams that's the real victors, I think, of the new way that players were selected for Hearthstone Global Games. Last year, it wasn't the team that had the best competitive roster. But this year, with the addition of AKA Wonder, you know, with Delsum, these big names that achieve all sorts in Hearthstone, again, in HGG and outside of HGG. And also, AKA Wonder's been giving us a good laugh with the green screen and the stuff that the production team have been doing with that.
Yeah, weird how it worked out, because it was a lot of content creators last time, but I would argue that Spain are one of the most celebrity teams, like the highest amount of star power on there, with Dalesom and Akawanda both representing SK Gaming alongside Bunny Hopper. Some very some very well-known players, but also very, very strong players. We've seen some good discussion from the teammates week after week in the global games.
Shall we take a look at Group B? Starting with Hong Kong, Shy, Blitzchung, Loosefield, and Kin. Kin, I think, is the big name recently here. Top 8 APAC Summer Playoffs, 3 top 16s, according to Lorinda, in recent tour stops, and that in itself is impressive.
Yeah, I think everyone would traditionally associate Blitzchung most heavily, or know about Blitzchung most heavily. But like you said, Kin has had a pretty strong run. I remember him personally from, I believe, getting top 8 at the previous APAC playoffs, not this one that just happened last week, but the summer playoffs instead. He was putting up some pretty strong display.
All right, Derek, this is your ultimate bit donation, and also Dan Gaskin's pick to win the whole thing. Tell me about the UK, the United Kingdom.
Well, a long time ago, the players on the United Kingdom are all players that I know fairly well. I'm good friends with the majority of them, I would say, and I think they are all absolutely star players, all bringing something different to the table, I think is what Toastmonster brilliantly highlighted in our interview with him, where it's all different styles of Hearthstone, different aspects that they're bringing to the table. Ball control, a bit more of an all-rounder, is the tournament pedigree at the moment. Green Sheep with the more aggressive play styles. Jackie, I think a little bit outside the box, perhaps, but still.
Jackie's always outside the box.
Yeah.
He doesn't go in your box, Derek.
Taking it seriously, at least, though, is what we've been hearing. They've all been giving it their all.
Bulgaria and the Netherlands are the 2 remaining teams in the... Oh, they've gone! Come back! Bulgaria and the Netherlands are the 2 remaining teams in Group B. Bulgaria, again, one of the lesser-known teams, I think it's fair to say, but Django is the star player. He's always got these great ladder performances. He's been going around the different tournaments recently. He's been making a real name for himself.
They have. And I think one of my favorite things about Bulgaria is they have definitely been one of the most patriotic teams, I think it's fair to say. I have lost count of the amount of Bulgarian flags we've had waved in our face after each and every one of their victories. They like a bit of Bulgaria, do our Bulgarian players.
And quite right too. But finally, my remaining pick to win the whole thing, and this is where my bits are going to be going. I'll tell you that right now. It's the Netherlands. It's Tyler, it's Theo, it's Mitsuhide. Taipei, and it's Tice. And what an all-star team they are. All 4 of the guys have tournament results. All 4 of the guys get the ladder finishes. Tice, more of a streamer nowadays, but when he tries to compete, he successfully competes.
Yeah, had the pleasure of casting him at HCT Germany, I believe the first tour stop of the Boomstay project coming out. And he got through to the semi-finals. He was just looking pretty much on fire. There was one Mechathune Priest game where I think he nearly gave himself a heart attack with the way he was playing, but he managed to get through it in the end. And like you said, I believe they're one of the few teams to have the same roster as last year, pretty much identical.
It was them
players.
and the Philippines, I believe, as the only 2 teams.
And I mean, if it ain't broke, why would you fix it? 4 extremely strong players, as it might sadly be Tyler's last representation on Team Netherlands this year. Oh,
sorry, Team Vietnam are going to get a little improvement.
A big boost.
Yeah. Let's take a look at Group C, though. New Zealand, another one of the teams. I've got my notes here. New Pathra. That's not quite right. New Zealand. Pathra is, I think, the star name on that team. Is a rather big streamer herself, although she tends to live in different countries each year. I think she's a very successful streamer. She's very popular. They've had an interesting path to the top 16, actually. Right back looking at week 1, where they had a bit of a shaky series that Sostel and Raven were a little bit traumatized after casting.
Yeah, New Zealand seem to have just been, I don't know what kind of curse has been put upon them, but they are getting the weird games here in the global games. All kind of the wacky shenanigans are happening in New Zealand's games. And I wonder if Chinese Taipei will be able to adapt to that. Obviously, curses don't actually exist, so maybe it'll just be regular Hearthstone, but who knows?
Tell us about Chinese Taipei then, Derek, your remaining team still in the tournament.
Yeah, I was quite happy to be cheering on these guys a little bit with my Twitch bits, as I think they are one of the absolute strongest and most underrated teams. Obviously, you've got the real star player in Tom, 60229.
Why is he the star player, Derek?
Well, he won it. He beat Hearthstone. He's one of the few players who have actually finished Hearthstone and got to the kill screen. Not many people know this. A little picture of Ben Brode pops up and goes, "Nice job, buddy." But yeah, he is obviously the real star player to me. And I think even outside of that, they're just such a well-rounded team, such a strong team with the AHQ boys closing out the team. I expect great things from them.
Singapore are another great team. Again, maybe one of the lesser-known teams amongst the vast popularity of Hearthstone. But within Singapore, there are some great players. Sequenox is the big name there. Last year, he was a bit of a memer, played some funny decks that kind of took us back. But this year, he came straight into this tournament and said, look, this year I'm taking it seriously. I'm not the meme player anymore. I'm a true competitive player. And we've seen some amazing results from Sequenox, both within HGG and outside of HGG.
Yeah, he has had a pretty good year so far. But up against Singapore, the United States. I think what would be a lot of people's choice, even outside of the US of A, as the strongest team here in the global games. And we have just seen recently kind of a confirmation of that, as it may be the year of killing all day, but is most assuredly the month of just saying here at this point in the year of the Raven. He has just had the most insane couple of weeks ever. Just after his episode of the tour saying he's wanting to get that tour stop victory, he then wins a tour stop and qualifies for the full championships, all in the span of like 2 weeks. It's pretty amazing stuff. And I am very happy for him, and as well for the rest of Team America. They are Team USA, sorry, a very strong team indeed.
You would have to be a fool to think that Team USA are not up to scratch this year. They did lose their first 2 series, though. We should point that out.
That is true.
They came in from a 0-2 deficit, won every single series since putting them in that 4-2 bracket. But now they're here. They're not going to want to be losing any more games. But speaking of not losing games, there are going to have to be some losses here in Group D. As we take a look at the Group of Death, it is Norway. I don't even know how to... Norway Hunter Race, but not even just Hunter Race.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
Zorkthar,
my description.
But not even just Zorkthar.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a very, very strong team indeed. I expect to see great things from them. However, even as they tweeted out earlier today, Zorkthar was saying Ukraine, he's excited to beat them, as Kalento is one of the players, obviously on Team Ukraine, I should say, who inspired Zorkthar to get into Hearthstone, I believe, in the first place, as he is one of the longest-running veterans of the Hearthstone scene. Norway versus Ukraine already is just going to be one of the absolute standout matches of the global games, full stop.
Yes, I agree. We've had Czech Republic versus Ukraine. Ukraine took the Czech Republic, former champions, down. Ukraine last year, second place, Hearthstone Global Games, and this year they are going for gold. That is a match you are not going to want to miss. And of course, I don't even really need to tell you about why Ukraine is such a great team. I mean, not even just Kalento.
Yeah.
Apparently that's what we're doing now. So let's move on to China, though. And China are a little bit of a team that stick to themselves. Obviously, they have different routes to HCT. Yeah. They have their own way of doing things, but they are here in the top 16. They've qualified like everyone else. They had a really strong start this year. I believe winning their first four series in a row. And that's quite impressive.
It's very impressive indeed, with some pretty weird decks thrown in there as well. One of my absolute favorite players to watch as well in Lee, after his pretty swaggy way of carrying himself at the Summer Championships, giving it all that, saying he's the best player in the world, he never feels a challenge from anyone, and then losing both series instantly and dropping from the tournament. God, it just brings a tear to my eye chuckling at that one every time. But he is a very good Hearthstone player. He's got #1 in points, I believe, 2 years in a row in China. He is a very, very strong player indeed, which means Switzerland will most assuredly have their work cut out for them, not only against China, but in that entire field. Because Switzerland, I would say, are most assuredly the underdogs of this group. Because while they have proven themselves in the global games, outside of that, none of the players in it really have any big tournament results to their name, I would say.
I agree. I have to say, again, I've mentioned this before, I'm going to mention it again. Hypno did bring us this Even Shaman. He said himself, yeah, I made this deck. My team trusted me. It's had great results in this tournament. I believe the first game it was played, it took down an Odd Paladin, and Hypno said afterwards, oh, I wasn't very favoured. I don't have Pyromancers in my deck, so didn't expect to win that, but he did it. And that's just something that got me a little bit excited. I like to see these decks that are a little bit different from some of the players. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Switzerland are going to do against China.
Yeah, we're good. I'm excited to take a look at the deck lists tonight as they came out for us just earlier today, heading into this week of the Global Games, the matches which will start tomorrow.
Speaking of deck lists, don't forget, if you are watching this at home and you'd like to see the deck lists yourself, if you just type into the chat, that right there, ! deck list, you will see all of them in a lovely little Imgur page. So go take a look before tomorrow's games. But next up, we've mentioned a few of these. We should mention all of them. Caster picks Derek. Let's take a look at how we're all doing. Really now, it's a case of which of us are still in the tournament and which of us aren't. I believe the way we've agreed we're going to do things is if one of our picks wins the whole thing, they win. If not, it's going to be match score. Whoever has the best match score wins the caster game. But there you go. Dan is doing very well. Dan Gaskin at a 10-2 record. What is that?
That's pretty insane. I'll take a solid second. I'm a second place kind of guy. As you know, a decent result, 6 and 5.
I'll take third.
Yeah,
I'll take third so far.
I'd be happy if I were you. Production, though, however, I hope you realise me and Falcone are laughing at you.
I don't want to be fired.
All right, fair enough.
Derek's laughing. I'm not. I'm very sympathetic about the fact that you guys are actually out of the tournament entirely. Raven also, I believe, out of the tournament. Both of his picks are gone. He had South Korea and struggling. Not actually sure who Raven's second pick was, but they're gone.
They're out.
They're out. Doesn't matter. And Sottel's still in with the USA. So you've got Taiwan still. Yep. Gaskin has the United Kingdom and also Ukraine. Lorinda has Norway, and I have Netherlands. So yeah,
well done.
Rest of us still in there with a fighting chance. But next up, we mentioned before that I had a chat with one of the members of Team Brazil. It was Perna. So let's take a look and see what he had to say about the Hearthstone Global Games. Hello, Perna. Good morning. Thank you so much for waking up extra early to take part in this interview. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Falcone, and you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, and I'm very excited to talk to you in particular about the Hearthstone Global Games, as you and Team Brazil have managed to go completely undefeated in the HGG Swiss at 6-0. That is incredible. Tell me how you did it.
Well, we practiced a lot about the picks and bans and how the lineup would be for the HGG, and I think we kind of understand well the format and stuff like that. So the first goal was, of course, to qualify. So after we did 4-0, we talk about for ourselves. Well, let's try to do the perfect score, and we were doing that. So we're very happy about it.
Is there anything you can tell me? Any secrets that your team has about sort of special preparation that you've done to prepare each week?
I don't know if it is special or not, but we do a lot of calls in Skype or other software like that, and we discuss the deck list, what we are expecting of the other countries to bring to the tournament, what are the possible lineups, and we try to bring something that are going to be good against that field that we determine. So it's pretty much that.
So every week, do you look at the team that you've got to play against and base your lineup around them?
Yeah, not for just 1 week. We try to understand how the each team individually like to play. So if they tend towards control, aggro, or things like that, and we try to build around that. So that's why we vary a lot on the decks we bring. And after that, we try to see how the picks and bans are going to occur. So we simulate a lot picks and bans. So when the picks and bans occur, usually we have a pre-line strategy around that. So we already know how the picks and bans are going to be played. So I think that's the most important, I think. But the rest is like the same as the decks and things like that.
Okay. So you won your first 3 series before the Boomsday project came out.
Yes.
How was the team feeling at the time? Did you think that the expansion was going to make life more difficult for you?
I don't know if it's going to be. I think yes, of course, but would be difficult for everyone, right? So everyone would have to experience the new cards and that. So we know that it's going to be harder for us, but it's also going to be harder for the other teams. So it really doesn't matter at all.
Yep, and clearly it wasn't a problem because you then won your next 3 series as well and made it through to the now double elimination stage. How is Team Brazil feeling now? Are you very, very confident?
Yes, we trained yesterday like for 6 or 7 hours in a row straight to build the group phase deck lists and lineups because they're going to play against 2 or 3 different countries. So a lot of play tests, and we are very confident to pass and travel to the BlizzCon play.
So how many hours of prep do you think that your team are putting in together each week?
It's hard to determine because individually we are already play testing the decks we are going to bring. So if someone suggests a different deck, the dedicated player going to pick deck that can play test a lot. So that's why Raid played at 8 p.m. Prix in week 5, I think. So it's almost like that. If you are trying to bring a different deck and nobody's have test that, we try to put that for a player to test. And the other part of the time we test are going to discuss the decks, the deck line. So I would say it really depends on the week and the timing we had left to practice, but I would say around 12 hours a week.
Mm-hmm. So just generally, you guys are working together a lot. Are you all good friends with each other?
Yes, we know each other around the competitive scene starts in Brazil. So those guys are all the same that starts competing in the Brazilian Hearthstone like in 2015. I started playing in 2015. So in the first HCT championship, I qualified and I met all of them. Each player I have more contacts, and Raze, of course, is my teammate, so it's the most closer to me. But Neves and Lucas also, we travel a lot for the tournaments, and we talk since 2016, I guess. So yes, I think that's it's really important, because it's easier to set up the meetings, set up the tests, because we know each other. We can work around the hours that everyone have to spare to the practice group. So we are friends in that aspect. I don't know if I am making myself clear enough, because it's not easy to speak in English.
Well, I'll tell you what, Perna, I definitely want to hear more about your team and the Brazilian community. We'll definitely talk to you a little bit more about that later. But for now, back to the studio. All right, well, there you go. The secrets of a very successful Hearthstone Global Games team there. If you want to have a very successful Hearthstone Global Games team, I hope you listened very carefully to that interview.
Yeah, it is so much about making sure you're all good friends, because you're going to be spending a lot of time together, not only actually playing the matches, but preparing for the games. And God knows, if you don't like each other, like you and... Oh, okay.
What?
Never mind.
I didn't know that there was a...
Cut. Next section.
Okay. Next up, we have a lot of games coming up this week, and we would like to show you what they are going to be. So let's start with tomorrow's schedule. New Zealand versus Chinese Taipei. Hong Kong versus the United Kingdom. Norway versus Ukraine. That's looking like a big game. Bulgaria versus the Netherlands. And finally, Singapore versus the United States.
Yeah, it has to be, for me, right slap bang in the middle. Norway versus Ukraine. For me, the star match tomorrow. I cannot wait to see how that one goes, because I expect some very high-level Hearthstone.
I've got to admit, I'm looking forward to the United Kingdom's game tomorrow versus Hong Kong. Again, we talked a lot about Kin's recent achievements, but what we didn't mention is that Kin actually won Hearthstone in the Asia Games that took place recently. He is a certified Hearthstone gold medalist.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That's pretty cool. Not many people that can say that.
There are not many people that can say that in anything, but in Hearthstone, that's just amazing to me. Let's take a look, though, at Wednesday's schedule, and we're going to have to explain a couple of these question marks here. First, we have China versus Switzerland. Then we have Hong Kong versus either Bulgaria or Netherlands, depending on who wins and who loses each game. Then we have Brazil versus Portugal, then Chile versus Spain, and then we have the other teams from Group B that don't play with Hong Kong.
Yeah, so if Hong Kong lose their first match and go against the loser in the second game of the day, the final game will be the winner's match from Group B. If Hong Kong win their first game and go up against the other winner, then the final match of the day will be the loser's match from Group B.
So I believe that one of those question marks at the bottom there is definitely the United Kingdom.
Yes.
Right. Okay, cool. Aha, puzzle solving. Right. Let's take a look, though, at the... Oh, you're pulling it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's got to be right?
Yeah.
Because they're not going to play... Yeah, okay. Finally, let's take a look at the very confusing last day of the broadcast this week, which is just a lot of question marks, really.
Yeah, as you pointed out, this is not like the previous Swiss format that we had here at the Global Games. This is just straight dual elim. So we don't know who's going to be winning and who is going to be losing. You may have been made to think after Just Saiyin's recent victories that Hearthstone is scripted. You would be wrong. He's just really good at Hearthstone.
What is scripted, though, is the time of the broadcast. Let's take a look. There you go. If you're in Central Europe, this is the time we're going to be starting each day. If you're located in Korea, those times. And finally, if you're on, is it the West Coast? Is it the West Coast?
PDT, I'm so bad at times.
Lorinda always knows this. I think it's the West Coast. If you're in the PDT time zone, it's Pacific Daylight Time, there you go. We're going to be live at those times for you. But as we do every week, we're going to have a special vote for you. The feature match of the week is going to be Norway versus Ukraine. Vote for your winner in Twitch chat right now. You don't need bits. You just need an exclamation mark and the name of your country and the word vote as well. Just follow. Don't listen to me. Follow the instructions.
And now I know that in the rehearsal you asked me who I thought was going to win, but I'm going to flip it now. I'm turning this whole broadcast on its head, Mr. Falcone. Who do you think's going to win?
I am going to go with the team that you didn't go with. Derek said that he believed that Norway was going to win. I'm going to say that I think Ukraine are going to win. They came... You right?
Yeah, just giving Zorksath some love.
They came second place last year. That was an amazing result. They've done great this year so far as well. And you can't deny that Ukraine are also a pretty fantastic team.
Yeah, that is just undeniably the clash of the titans here in the first day of the knockout stages of the Global Games.
Speaking of titans, though, the titans of the Hearthstone Global Games so far have been Brazil. I had a chat with Perna earlier on. We've heard the first half of it. Now, let's hear a little bit more from Perna about the Brazilian Hearthstone scene. Okay, Perna, so tell me a little bit about the Brazilian community. Does your team have a lot of help from the outside?
No, the other Brazilian teams, the other competitive players in Brazil are diminishing right now. So the most players that we have more connection is the ones that start playing 2015, 2016. Most of them are no longer practicing. And we focus between our four, so it's most between us. Sometimes we have outside help, but point help, so in specific decks or something like that, but not from Brazilian community, I would say. Sometimes some Brazilian friends help when a point or another, but not like a structural thing or something like that.
Have you had a lot of support, though, from the Brazilian community? Are they as excited as you are about going undefeated in the bracket?
Yes, of course. Since the World Cup finished right now, and we had the chance to be the six-time world champion in soccer, football, and we lost, so they are kind of depositing that's the Brazilian chance to be like for our community, of course, in Hearthstone, that's the chance to win something big. So they are very, very happy. A lot of news and stuff like that on Brazilian Hearthstone side. So they are very happy about that.
So what do you think it would mean to the Brazilian Hearthstone community if you win the Hearthstone Global Games?
That would be awesome, man. Yeah, that would definitely be awesome, because we don't have a lot of professionals in esports, like in world-class level. So if we do that, something like that would be really amazing.
Do you think that it would encourage a lot of Brazilian players to get back to practicing Hearthstone and trying to get to the top level?
Yes. I have no doubt about that. We feel accomplished, but we are already doing that. We knew that if we were succeeding in the competition, some players are going to be encouraged to come back, and that's going to happen slowly. Some friends of ours that wasn't playing are coming back to play, and the community, some of them are seeing the results and also come back to the game. Yes, definitely going to help a lot our community.
Okay, now your team is the #1 seed going into the top 16 of the Hearthstone Global Games. Who are you playing against this week?
It's Portugal.
And how are you feeling about that game?
Well, we didn't practice against Portugal specifically because group stage, so we built the lineups against all the three others. So it's Portugal, Chile, and Spain. We are confident in pass to the group. So Portugal, it's another opponent. They are the same language speakers, but we think we have a very good shot to pass through the group and win against Portugal.
Okay, say for a second you make it to the finals. Which team would you like to meet in the finals?
That's a hard question again. In the finals, there are a lot of good teams in the AGG right now. I don't think we are going to pick soft opponent. We pass through everyone they throw at us. So I don't have a specific name to tell you, but everyone they throw at us, we are going to do our best and win the game, of course.
I'm glad to hear that. Good luck with your game this week, Perna, and hopefully we will see you later on in the year at BlizzCon. A very confident team is Brazil indeed. Now, Norway versus Ukraine. Your votes have been counted and verified. Let's take a look. The survey says...
Oh, that is close.
That's the closest we've had, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it gets much closer than that. Dare I say, it doesn't get any more than 2% closer than that. As Norway, I have to be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that they are the slight underdog there, because us casters, we do like to talk about how good Hunter Ace is, don't we? And how much of a tear he's been on recently. And also the rest of his teams, if you are keeping up with the point standings or how the top 16, stuff like that, tour stops have been going, you will most likely know their names as well. But Ukraine, they've got some real star power on their team.
It can be pretty nice to talk about how good Kalento and Nerea are.
Yep.
Just to even the odds a little bit there.
Don't know about you as well, but personally, I'm sold boy on old boy.
I think that's perfectly fair. But now it's everyone's favorite, unless you're a caster, part of the show. It is the viewer Q&A. Lorinda has been in chat collecting your questions and is ready to push them to us. So, production team, give us the first question. Of course, why is the USA the best team ever and going to win? Well, Dr. G. Kininki, they're not.
Next question.
Unless you look at the bit counter and then...
Yeah, and the number of points the team collectively have. But if you don't look at any of the objective evidence that they are the best team, they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What separates the top pro players from others in terms of skill?
This is an interesting question, one that has been tossed about in the Hearthstone community a lot, because when you do get to the highest level of Hearthstone, there really isn't that much in it, to be perfectly honest. If you're taking any of the absolute top-tier players up in the top of the point standings, it can be difficult to differentiate between them when it comes down to one game of Hearthstone. So then you need to look often outside of that, because what you often hear from players who bring weird lineups, which is often something that is a key part of skill in Hearthstone, is correctly reading the metagame, is them saying, if I bring the regular standard popular decks at the moment, I'm not that much better than the rest of the field, so where's my edge? How do I consistently get a victory or win this tournament with the standard decks? So they bring something a little bit out there to try and catch their opponent off guard and maybe get the surprise factor to get those extra percentage points.
The key word, I think, is definitely consistency, though, and this has always been the case in Hearthstone. If you have a player that is going to every tour stop and consistently getting those top 16s, getting those top 8s. I mean, you look at players like Fino, like Hunter Ace, like Just Saying, these guys that are always there getting the best possible results every single time. And you just know these are the top Hearthstone players.
No matter what meta the meta game is as well, especially one like this one, which is, I would say, a pretty difficult meta, actually, in terms of tournament play, playing consistently perfectly with several very difficult decks right at the tier 1 with Quest Rogue, Malygos Druid, Togwaggle Druid, even some of the aggro decks like Odd Rogue I find very difficult to play at times.
All right, I believe we only have one question left. I guess you guys are spamming up the chat too much with some cheers. Let's take a look. Production team, what have we got? Oh.
There we go. Ooh.
Lorinda, Hunter Ace or Saiyan? Derek?
Is this going to become the rivalry of Hearthstone? This is just so difficult to choose.
Derek?
Hunter Ace follows me on Twitter, so Hunter Ace.
Oh!
I don't know. If you look at it objectively in terms of points, actually, if you look at it in terms of who has had the better year, Hunter Ace has pretty undeniably had the better year, I would say, because we've been talking about Just Saying. He is pretty much undecidedly number 2, I think, with a whole bunch of semi-finals that he's got, as well as his recent victories as well. The number 1 in NA points now, or the Americas points, I believe. But I still got to give it to Hunter Ace, I think. It's just, even though in the last month or so he hasn't had the most Even then, he did it at playoffs. It just has to be Hunter Ace. He's too good. He's had such an insane year.
Well, you know what? Hunter Ace does not follow me on Twitter, so with a single tear, I'm going to say, just saying.
Nice. This is where I'm high-fiving Hunter Ace.
And I'm definitely not high-fiving you. Yeah. All right. Is that all of our questions, production team? Oh, no, we have one more. What do you think of OTK Paladin, and why is it the best Paladin deck? Theo, my friend.
Of course this is Theo.
I love the Netherlands as a team. I love you guys. It's not.
I will say in the first half of that question, what do I think of OTK Paladin? I did love that deck before rotation hit, and we saw the Auction Master Beardo OTK Paladin. That was an incredibly spicy deck, especially with the 4-mana Call to Arms, pulling out the Dirty Rats. Delicious.
Dirty Rats, Loot Hoarders. Yeah, it was a very, very solid deck indeed. At the moment, I think there are better choices for Paladin. I would go as far to say even and odd, and also the mid-rangey egg Kangor's Endless Army Paladin. Probably a little bit better than that, but who knows?
I have lost to it on ladder, though. I should say it's a weird deck, and I didn't really know what was happening because I hadn't seen it yet. And he was playing Ancient Brewmaster instead of usual Brewmaster, which I'd never seen in Hearthstone ever. And all of a sudden, all 4 horsemen had been summoned, and I was dead, and it was a truly miserable affair. All
right, last thing we've got to look at, guys, is, of course, one more time, the current bit leaderboard. Let's take a look. There you go. Total cheer, 572,000. So between you, we've earned a lot of Hearthstone packs, I think.
That's quite a few bits, I would say. Some of those are mine, but not all of those are mine. And I have nothing else to add.
I haven't added any yet, but as I said, I will be tomorrow when the Netherlands are playing. I believe the first community score is 8 million that we have to get to unlock some packs. But with this many within, what, 2 hours, we'll definitely get there. And, yep, okay, a bit of dominance there from the United States.
Yeah, pretty unsurprisingly, the United States coming up big here at the Hearthstone Global Games, almost at 300,000 already. I believe they might have actually hit 300,000 on the live updated feed, which you can see by scrolling down just a little bit on the Twitch page. But the United Kingdom in second.
I'm surprised by that.
That's not bad. The UK never comes second. We are rubbish at, dare I say, pretty much everything.
But maybe this year we'll come first in the Hearthstone Global Games.
Maybe.
Maybe. Who knows? And with that, we are finished with today's show. But we will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. CEST with tomorrow's games. It's going to be Derek, it's going to be Lorinda, it's going to be Gaskin, and it's going to be myself this week. We're looking forward to bringing you the first round of the double elimination starting tomorrow. We'll see you then.